So I just want to ask the panelists, and I'll go a little further and ask folks if you have some of these answers in the chat, drop in the chat. What are some of the policies and practices that you have seen or that you desire to be implemented to address inequalities based upon these varying demographic factors?
So again, two things I think of, right? Having created this space where families are able to describe their challenges that they faced, and then shaping policies and practices to address those so as to reduce, future discriminations, et cetera, from happening. And then money, right? I mean, funding, allocating resources in a way that addresses disparities that are happening. Maria, when you were talking earlier, I was doing this to the screen. I was doing the poetry snap. I almost stood up. I was dropping mics. I was doing all of the things because I was like, that part, and that part. But, the importance of naming that these things exist, right? And they're systemic and they are foundational. And it's hard to build on a foundation that's cracked. Like, let's deal with that. Let's address that. And then after you've heard this, and what the different challenges are, how do we allocate resources to address those needs? Resources aren't necessarily only financial, right? It's the human capital. It's a litany of things, but so that every child knows that I'm valued, I'm important. And like you said, it matters not the color of my skin. It matters not the zip code in which I live, the things that my parents have access to, or, the history of whatever else. It doesn't matter. I am valued and I am being invested in. And I just think about that because there's this proverb that says, a child that is not embraced by his village will burn it down to feel its warmth. And that is so real. Mm-hmm. So how do we ensure that we are putting practices and things in place so that we can have healthy families and healthy children, et cetera? Money, don't play, access to resources, and really being listening and being responsive to the different issues that people are mentioning.